below and just let us know that you can see us and hear us. We want to make sure that the technology gods are in our favor. I am the special guest here, but I'm really here with Barry, who I'm supposed to introduce. This is Barry's channel that we are live on. I am your host, Amber Vilhauer. I own a company called NGNG Enterprises, which stands for No Guts, No Glory. And I have the great big honor of being Barry's book launch director. And during today's episode on his Freedom series, we are not only announcing the release of the pre-order of his book, Path to Freedom, but we are also celebrating the 100th episode of his podcast. And this is like a moment that I've been really excited about for 2 months almost, right, Barry, since we came up with the idea to do this live stream. So thanks so much for having me, and we're celebrating together. It's great.
So grateful to have you here.
We have our teams in the comments below. So as you are joining us live, we have an epic conversation that's about to unfold. I have put more than a dozen hours preparing into this interview, reading Barry's book. I've been marking it up, highlighters, gel pens, all the stuff. And Barry, your book was really good. And I'm not just saying that because we're live and I probably am supposed to say that. I'm saying it because it was really, really good. If you are a business owner and you are experiencing growing pains at any stage, then Barry's new book, Path to Freedom, is going to be a lifesaver. So we welcome you here. You're going to want to stick around for the full hour that we're talking. It's going to be a deep discussion. But Barry, let's start off with a bang. What's one piece of value that we can give to business owners to give them a taste of what's ahead? Like if I'm experiencing growing pains, what advice do you have? One tip so I can feel a little less pressure in this moment right now.
I think when business owners are creating SOPs or systems, it's important for them to understand, like employees to understand, not just the steps they need to take to complete them or get them done, but to understand why. Like as human beings, we're innately drawn to something bigger than ourselves. And we want to understand the vision, the purpose, the meaning behind why we're doing something rather than just the steps to complete it.
The why. That's really good. Most people don't talk about that. You've heard people talk about SOPs and everybody has their own spin on it. But why, helping to develop their thought leadership, that's great. I would say if I could give a piece of advice, get your team more involved. You know, I know for me at different stages of growth, I felt like I had to come up with all of the answers. When really, if we just allow that opportunity for a team to come in and you're being open and honest with them, you know, and you're saying, this is where we're stuck. I don't have all of the answers. How can we work together and co-create a system or a process or a solution? And the value in co-creation is now your team is more bought into the vision and the mission, and they have more ownership in their role, right? Absolutely. This is just a taste of some of the stuff we're going to be talking about: hiring, teams, systems, automation, mission, values, growth, scaling. It's going to be good, guys. So we're going to need your help. Barry, I'm going to prepare you for this. We are trying to get as many people to watch this live stream as possible, because Barry and I are both independently and collectively on a mission to help business owners thrive. There's so much dysfunction in business right now. And I know it's breaking my heart. I've been working really hard in my company to help business owners just feel a little less stress and pressure, free them up so that they can be more creative and work within their unique ability. I know we have that in common. So in order to get as many people help as possible, we are going to ask you, the viewers, to do us a favor. And I'm going to ask you this a few times throughout. If you're watching on Facebook, there's a button on the bottom right-hand corner of this video player, and it should say something like start a watch party or share. And I would love for you to start a watch party on Facebook. If you're on another platform, tag a few friends, but the point is share it. And if you share this interview, we are going to make it worth your while. So Barry, what's something that we can give people, anybody who starts a watch party, and come back and let us know in the comments that you did it, so we know who to send this to? What can we give them?
There was a little while ago, we recorded a training called Winning the Week. One of the complaints we hear a lot from business owners is around staff meetings are boring, or I can't get my team accountable. We don't have good culture. We can't attract good employees, et cetera, et cetera. We recorded training around documentation called Win of the Week, which is how we structure our weekly meetings to both ingrained phenomenal culture and organization, ensure our team is aligned, ensure our team is productive, ensure our team are achieving their goals in the company, whilst also being clear of what's happening company-wide. And honestly, the training is an absolute game changer. Any of our clients that have watched this training, implemented it, still say it's probably the #1 training they've ever watched being part of the Game Changers program through the sheer impact it's had on their business. So I would like to give that away to anyone that starts a watch party this morning.
Okay, NGNG team in the comments, please go start watch parties on my groups, on my personal pages. You sold me on that. I want that. But is there anything else that maybe we could give away? Maybe just like one more thing to really sweeten the deal. What can we give away to people who share this?
I just finished last week recording the audio version of my book, The Path to Freedom. So that will be completed on Monday. I'm happy to give away the audio book of my book, The Path to Freedom, as well.
To everybody who starts a watch party.
Yes.
Okay, guys.
13 hours of recording, 14 hours of editing.
Okay, guys, start a watch party. But here's the key. You have to come back and in the comments say, I just started a watch party. And then our teams will be able to reach out to you after the live stream is over. Unless, Barry, should we extend it for a few days or a week? When's our deadline to start a watch party? Because it doesn't have to be while we're live. You can start a watch party at any time.
I think a couple of days. Until I have the final audio book recording in my inbox, we'll keep this open. How's that?
Okay, so we're going to be checking back every couple of days to see who has started a watch party. We are going to give you Winning the Week training and the audio book of Path to Freedom. And as we get deeper into this interview, you're going to really want that audio book. So that's good, Barry. Thank you for that. So really quick, I want to dive into the book. I want to take everybody through the same journey of the book that I had the privilege to go through early on. And I'm going to ask some really deep questions. But since this is your 100th episode, that's a lot, man. How does it feel to have 100? What do you feel about your podcast? Like, are you glad you did it? Do you love your guests? Anything important that you've learned before we move on to your book?
I never thought it'd reach here. Like 100 weeks ago, we launched our first episode. We've interviewed some phenomenal entrepreneurs and business owners around the world. Like my network has grown exponentially through that process. But not only that, like we've impacted over 1.8 million people who have downloaded that episode. So the episodes, it's been an incredible journey. But it's just begun. We're just getting started.
Yes. And I've had the privilege to be a part of the launch of the FREEDOMseries, which, we took the concept of Barry's podcast and now we're just doing a whole lot more of them and we're streaming them all live, which, guys, live streaming is all the rage right now. We'll come back and we'll do another FREEDOMseries. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about marketing and live streaming. I definitely wanted to dig into the book here. Guys, if you have any questions, just put them in the comments below. I keep looking over here sometimes because Barry's team is going to be feeding me questions that I can then ask Barry. So if you're wondering. Okay, so Barry, I'm going to dig in. I love in the book how you say, until we systematize our business so it can run without us, we will always be our own employee. And that is a high risk game. So what do you mean this is a high risk game? And what does freedom mean to you?
Yeah, great question. A lot of this comes from my original business. I had a kitchen and bathroom manufacturing business, and I had 14 full-time staff and 4 contractors. And that business solely relied on me. Every time I stepped out, even for lunch, my phone would ring like, no joke, 20, 30 times because I trained my organization to rely upon me. Now, the issue with that is that whenever I was sick, whenever something happened, or I went through a pretty big breakup at the time, my business failed to operate effectively and in aspects of it at all because my business relied upon me. So I think as a business owner, we have the obligation, the duty to build our business to where we're no longer the single point of failure within an organization. because we don't know when, God, we might fall over and break our leg or get hit by a car or something serious happen. We need to look after our staff, our employees, and obviously our client and community that we're building as well. For me, freedom is the ability to do what you want, when you want, how you want, with whoever you want. And even more than that, I talk about in the preface of the book, my experience in Bali immigration when I got locked up for 4 nights. And that was when I experienced true freedom, which I feel true freedom is our ability to be liberated in such a way that we can show up and express all of who we are. And I think business gives us an amazing platform to do that. And yet I see so many business owners that are running the businesses trying to compete or be like somebody else, rather than being the unique and awesomeness that they are here on Earth.
1000%. Yes. And that really struck me in your book, because I hadn't really thought of myself as an employee until you called me out on it. I thought, oof, this is what I love about your book is you really, it was a fast read. It was a great read. It just made sense. Sometimes you're reading business books and it's like, and you just get overwhelmed, but not with yours. If anything, I felt really engaged. I felt relief. I knew exactly what to work on next. And so thank you for that. As I was preparing these questions, I was imagining business owners coming in, watching, thinking, hey man, I just want to know, how do I sell more? Like, what's the fastest way I can sell more? Because I got to pay my bills. Maybe COVID hit, I'm stressed out right now, cash flow's tight. Can you just tell me how to sell more, how to make more money? And, yes, we could just tell you that, but that's not in your best interest, right? That's only going to create more issues faster for you, right?
Yeah.
And in the book, you say, my firm belief is that we never have business problems. Which I thought was interesting. We have personal problems that get expressed through our business. Tell me more about that.
I believe we never see life as life is. We see life as we are. Like, we could be walking down the road and watch a car accident and both see different aspects of the car accident because of our perceptions, because of the way that we filter in the information through our different senses creates the story or meaning behind that. And, I believe that we're meaning-making machines in a meaningless world. We could see a situation, I could be like, oh, wow, that's a huge problem. And you could be like, man, there's a huge opportunity there. And so this is why I believe, business itself, I don't believe is too complicated. We overcomplicate it because we're showing up with unresolved past woundings of our childhood, with past experiences from employees or poor, how many of you have had experiences where you've hired a staff member, things haven't gone well, and then you've made a decision, well, there's just no good staff out there. I'm just not going to hire anyone anymore, right? Off one bad decision or 2 bad decisions, or not even bad decisions, it's 2 experiences. And the reality is these things are showing up, I believe, as an opportunity for us to step into that aspect of liberation and freedom, to step into the challenges and to overcome those things that maybe in the past we perceived we couldn't. And I think this is where a lot of business owners are way too short-sighted. They expect to have the overnight successes overnight, the $100,000 a year, while they sleep. The reality is you can get there, but it's not an overnight thing. You've got to be committed and dedicated and every day take a step towards getting there. And I think the biggest part of that growth is the growth that we have within the relationship with ourselves, not outside of us. We need to learn how to become vulnerable, how to lead a team, how to inspire people around a vision, how to be certain the product service that we sell. A lot of business owners are selling stuff that they don't necessarily believe in or aren't aligned with their truest passions. Serving clients they don't enjoy serving because they just want to bring money in to pay the bills. You're not in business just to survive. You're in business to thrive and create a life for yourself and your family far beyond what you could have work for someone else.
I've had to learn some of these lessons. A few years ago, I had scaled up my company and we were doing really well. I mean, the team was thriving, our reputation was awesome, but I'll never forget this one day that, it hit me like a Mack truck that I was burning out. And I was not paying attention to the signs, right? Because you're just busy for the sake of being busy. And you think that that's, how you prove your worth and all of the things. That's what I loved about this moment of your personal problems. Whatever is unresolved on the inside, it will manifest in your business. And until you are hyper aware of the problems in your business and tracking them back into your mindset, into your beliefs and evolving, we're going to talk more about that later on. you've really got to do the work there in addition to some of these other things that we'll be talking about. So I thought that was awesome.
Absolutely.
Tell us about your game-changing moment.
Game-changing moment.
Your own game-changing moment.
I've got so many. One I said about the last line of the acknowledgement section, and the copy that you read, I removed some swear words from there and changed my perspective. But it was the next employer, my last employer, Philip was his name, and I was employed to contract to fit out all of his new homes with joinery. So I built the kitchens, the staircases, the timber windows, and so forth. I'll never forget one morning, I got up, I went in there at 5:30 in the morning to help pack the truck for him to take the supplies to a job. And I got a phone call at 8:30 to abuse me that something wasn't on the truck. And that something that wasn't on the truck. And he was like I could feel the spit coming through the phone. He was yelling at me that much. And the interesting thing was the thing that wasn't on the truck was there for the taking, and he left it off. And I just felt such a strong feeling in my heart at this point in time. I was like, I need to move on from here. Now, I had a home loan at the time. I was good at making money, but never good at saving money. I didn't have any money to my name, but I just felt I needed to leave. I didn't know what I was going to do or where I was going to go, but I just knew in my heart it was time for me to exit that role. And it was 3 weeks later, I was at my mum's house. And I said to Mum, I'm worried that I'm not worried. Now, I was an avid worrier. I worried about everything back then. And Mum, I never forget, Mum looked at me and said, Barry, you'll work it out. Like, something's around the corner. You'll work it out. And it was the next day I decided to post an ad in the local Examiner newspaper. And I just said, local handyman, no job too big or too small. And that was the start of my first multi-million dollar lesson and multi-million dollar business as well, that defining moment. But the more interesting thing is that it was a week or two after being my own business, I was like, man, I really screwed things up. Like, I had all these amazing employers and mentors before me. Why didn't I learn from them? Why did I not learn how they ran their businesses? And I thought that my learning journey was over. Little did I know, my learning journey was just about to begin. And what I've since realized is that the more that I know, the more I keep realizing what I don't know. And it's been a phenomenal journey since. So it was just an interesting moment of transition for me from, I guess, this old paradigm of being an employee to like really deciding that my worth was greater respect than what I was receiving at that point in time.
And then how did you go from that moment into creating the Game Changers, your company, as to the amazing success story it is today?
Well, it was 8.5 years later when my partner at the time left me, took my 2 children, and decided to move on the other side of the country because she didn't feel supported by me. Like, I was stuck working. The funny thing was, Amber, is when I first started working in that business, I was like, I'm not going to be like my dad when I grow up. You know, meaning that my dad's amazing, such a beautiful human, and did so much to provide for me and my brothers. But he was working all the time and he wasn't there for like school games and things like that. And I was like, I want to be in a position when I have kids, I can drop them off at school. I can go to their things at school. And what I realized, years later when my partner left me, is I was like, holy shit, like I'm my dad. Like, I'm my dad, but I'm actually even worse. Like, I was never at home. When I was home, I was angry. And I realized I built a multi-million dollar job. I wasn't there for them. And she decided to leave. And so that was the start of a 6-month process of trying to find a way back to the relationship and out of the business. Yet I'd had years of building a job for myself that, longer story that I speak about in the book, but it was a tough gig. Yet I'm so blessed for everything that happened in that experience because it's now allowed me to be who I am today. And God, I never thought I'd be a business coach, just FYI. Like, I never was like, oh, like I've just screwed things up so bad, I'm going to go and do a business coaching certificate and become a business coach. Like, it definitely did not happen that way.
Oh my gosh. Well, I certainly never thought that I would be a web developer or have a marketing agency. So I hear you on that one. Wow. Isn't it so interesting where life takes us? You're amazing. Okay, so guys, I want to turn it back to the viewers here. Definitely, what questions do you have for Barry right now? We're about to get into vision, mission, values, goals. We're going to get into delegation and hiring. What questions? Start populating those right now into the chat box. And I do also just want to make sure that the teams are sharing this page, which is your pre-order page, Barry. So you guys can go over to this page here, the Path to Freedom. You can see some of these bonuses that you can get if you put the pre-order in today and over the next couple of days as well. So I just want to make sure that I'm doing a quick plug for that. Really proud of this book. Okay. In the vision chapter, which I loved, you said that vision is like a sunset. So something that I can never actually catch, which I have to admit kind of broke my heart a little bit. I'm so type A and driven and like hitting goals. And then it hit me that the vision, you never really catch it. So I would love, then you went on to say, vision is the sunset, mission is the path to get you there, and value, or the path to get you toward the sunset, and the values is how you'll actually get there. So I was wondering if you could share a few key principles for people around vision, mission, values, so that we know if we're doing it right.
Yeah. I remember this whole vision, mission, values thing was super confusing. Then people talk about why, they talk about purpose. I'm like, how do all these things fit in together? And there's actually an old mentor of mine, Ben Harvey, who drew this diagram for me. And it was like a mountain with a path up the mountain. There was some trees along the way. There was a compass in the corner, and there was a sunset at the top, and the pictures in the book. And what we spoke about is that vision is like the sunset. Like anything that we want to achieve, let's say we want to achieve a certain revenue level or monetary goals or a car or whatever it is. It's not the thing that we want to get. It's what we perceive the meaning or the feeling is going to be through achieving it. Let's be honest, like how often have you worked towards a goal? You've got it. It didn't quite feel the way you thought it would feel. It's more the journey and the experience that we're chasing, yet it's easier for us to articulate from the brain's perspective when we're seeing something physical or tangible working towards. So the vision is us understanding the actual core driver behind what we're doing. The mission is the journey up the mountain. So you might have several missions. You know, one mission that we have is to essentially eradicate entrepreneurial poverty and help business owners to live a life beyond their wildest dreams. That's one of several missions that move us towards the vision that I have. So the mission is more so like a 10-year goal that you know doesn't quite get you to the sunset, but gets you a good way around the globe. Your values, though, are more the compass, and they let you know whether or not you're on track, on the path, or off the path along the way. So they're like your guiding principles to ensure that you stay on your path, stay on your mission towards your vision. And the trees along the way, well, they're just simply goals. You know, you've broken the mission down from this big 10-year chunk into, 3 years or 1 year or 90-day goals along the way to kind of ensure that, again, you can get to the vision.
I have to bring up your Freedom Series episode from last week with Darius, which was fantastic, right? Around values. And so definitely recommend you guys go back, watch that episode around values, and just subscribe to Barry's social media channels to get notified when future live streams are happening. We do have a question from Patty, it looks like. But actually, we're going to get to that in just a minute, so I will circle back to that. What are some common issues that business owners face as they try to scale? I'm sure as a coach, you've seen patterns in people trying to scale. I'm almost thinking, I got an email last week from another agency owner looking for help. And oh my gosh, this guy's situation just broke my heart. But I also know that this is what so many people are feeling like. He had oversold, so he's kind of overcommitted. He's understaffed right now. His team is burning out. They have communication issues. They're kind of doing tasks outside of what their role should be because they're trying to just share the workload right now. Communication is breaking down. Systems are breaking down. The business owner is overcommitted, just trying to keep the plate spinning. Meanwhile, thinks I need to go out and sell so I can get more cash flow to hire more people. I've heard this problem a lot. And so I don't know if any other scenarios come to your mind right now, but what are some of the common patterns that you are seeing with business owners that are trying to scale?
Yeah. God, there's so many, but I guess some of the first ones that pop to mind is, first of all, like not knowing what the real problem is, focusing in the wrong area at the wrong time. There's a significant difference between growth and scale. And I often share that like growth is like planting a seed and nurturing it. And like every day, every week, it's changing form. That's growth phase. That requires a certain skill set, a certain behavior, and certain activities to get your business out of the growth phase into scale, which from my experience usually happens at 1.2 to 1.5 million. Then we go into scale phase, which is kind of like looking at a photo and you're just magnifying it. Like the image doesn't change structure or shape, it just gets bigger. And so scale starts at that 1.2 to 1.5 million onwards, and it's more around simplification. But, Mike Mccalla talks about in his book, Fix This Next, which is fantastic. If you haven't read it, absolutely read that. that most business owners' biggest challenge is that they don't know what the biggest challenge is. And he'll help them to go and identify this using a principle called the business hierarchy of needs, based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And essentially, we can't scale a skyscraper if the foundations are not there in the first place. Yeah, that's it. So we need to ensure the foundations are there to be able to build a solid business. I think the next one, like a big one, Amber, I see so often, and it's a similar mentality from growth to scale, is entrepreneurs that are control freaks. They go into business, a lot of them, because
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, they want to take control and do something, like kind of buck against the system in some realm. But that aspect and that mentality, that grind again, that gets you growing, by being the one that does, is the same thing that's like your Achilles heel and kills you from scaling, because you get to a point where you're burnt out, you can't do everything. You hire great people, but you end up disempowering them because you don't inspire them to be able to make decisions and be self-reliant in their roles. So I think that being a control freak is a massive one, that even business owners break through and get their business scaling. But when they go to step out, that's when they start to attract a lot of unconscious sabotages, because they're so deeply identified with their business. It's like a newborn child that you're dropping off at school for the first day. That feeling of like, are they going to be okay? They're getting looked after, they get fed. It's like, it's the same relationship.
I actually really appreciate that you put it that way. Thank you for that. I think that just unlocks something in me. This is great. Okay, guys. So I'm going to remind you again that I want you to start a watch party, because this conversation is only going to get better from here. Now, what we did announce 10-15 minutes ago was for anybody who starts a watch party on Facebook, shares this across social media in general. Barry said he was going to give away Winning the Week training, which has helped tons of people, and his audiobook. He's going to gift that to everybody who starts a watch party. Just come back and make a comment that you started a watch party. But if it's okay with you, Barry. I was just thinking,
Amber, you're pretty competitive. I was wondering, what are you going to bring to the table?
I'm so predictable. Did you see it in my eyes?
What do you got to bring to the table?
We got to do better. I'm gonna let's have a little friendly competition around this. So I have a really high quality 40-minute training that's around how to attract qualified buyers, qualified being the keyword, and growing your following. So we're talking about social media, we're talking about video, we're talking about a system to do it all. And for those of you who don't know much about me, I am an over deliver, especially when it comes to free content and value. So if you're thinking like, oh, it's another 40-minute training, you're going to be taking pages of notes. You're going to have a plan to do marketing in this new world, especially. So I will give you, all of you who start a watch party, benefit of Barry and the celebration of his 100th episode, you'll all get a copy of that 40-minute training video for marketing. How's that?
Well, I reckon you can do better. I brought a couple of things to the table.
You would. What are you going to give?
I brought a couple of things to the table. I've got some other things here. What do you got?
You've got more. Well, tell me what you've got.
So I think within 7 days, we'll go back through and we'll pick 3 people that have started a watch party, and I'll give away a $50 Amazon gift card.
Ooh. So be thinking, you're sitting here watching this and thinking, what could I do with a $50 Amazon gift card? Okay, I would tell Alexis on my team that I would go buy gel pens, because that's like an inside joke between us. We love our gel pens. Post-it notes, I go through Post-it notes like crazy. You could just buy them in bulk. Buy more copies of the book. Buy your sweetheart something awesome, right? Okay, $50 Amazon gift card. I like that for 3 people. I'm going to do way better than that. Way better than that. Okay, so in the next week, for people who start a watch party, come back, make a comment. I'm going to pick 3 people, and I'm going to give you a free 30-minute marketing strategy session with me, where I am going to look at your whole platform, and we are going to come up with a plan that I will give to you afterward that you can share with your team, maybe talking about some holes in your marketing, some things that you can be doing to get more qualified people in. So I'm going to, 30-minute strategy session, Barry. What do you think of that?
I reckon I could do better again.
We should just stop. We're just going to sit here for the next 30 minutes going back and forth. Okay, we'll do this one as the last one. What is it?
All right, one more. So we've got an upsell option, but it's only if you find the book through paid advertising. Which may happen. But what I'm prepared to do, we have more than 50 pre-written systems.
You are going to do that?
That I'll give away.
I have seen this, you guys. This is outrageous. Okay, go ahead.
So 50 pre-written systems. And they're everything from how to hire virtual assistants to team members, including the scripts. It's how do you run meetings? How do you run sales calls? How do you attract leads through social media? How do you get an EA to manage your inbox and your appointments and your calendar? Like so many, 50 of our top systems.
So Barry showed me these 50 SOPs a couple of weeks ago on one of our book launch strategy sessions. And I said, I want those. They were beautiful and they were deep and they were awesome. So, okay. All right, guys, if you start a watch party, come back in the comments. 3 people get a $50 Amazon gift card. For the SOPs, is that for every? For 3 people, you get 50 SOPs, winning the week training and the audiobook for everybody. My end, everybody gets the 40-minute marketing training, and then 3 people get a 30-minute strategy session with me. Oh my gosh. If everybody isn't starting watch parties right now, I don't even know what to say anymore. All right, enough of the shenanigans. Let's go back into the content. So we do have some questions coming in. I will get to those. You said in the book, what can be measured can be improved. Without getting too much into the weeds around metrics, tracking, and KPIs, what are some things that you can share at a high level? Because I know that when I was in early stages of business, the word KPI was like, what's that? And this feels overwhelming. I'm not a numbers person. Do I hire that out? Am I overcomplicating it? Just give us some high level information about KPIs, knowing that in the book you go deep and it's awesome.
Yeah. I think that there's 5 basic KPIs that every business needs to be measuring regardless. And we talk about it in the profit plan, which is the methodology we have. In the book, there's actually a link to download those 5 KPIs in a spreadsheet as a basis, because a lot of business owners actually aren't measuring KPIs, which is crazy. Or they're trying to grow their business looking at P&L, which is even crazier and definitely not the way to go about it. So there's 5 core KPIs that when you are tracking these consistently, you understand which lever you need to pull in order to scale and grow your company. Most business owners, they think they need more leads to grow, and it's actually 99% of the time, it's not more leads that they need. So we thought that's 5 KPIs, but then, as you said, we go deep into understanding, like if you've got certain issues in your business, how can you put a KPI and some accountability around that to ensure that that no longer becomes an issue?
You said, don't look at your P&L. That's the wrong thing to do. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here. Why?
Because it's a lag measure. Like when we're looking at our P&L, even monthly, we can't influence the data and we can't change it. It's already happened. It's the wrong metric to be looking at. Sure, there is a time that you should be looking at your P&L to review things and to ensure that your forecasting and budgeting are aligned, but it's not the way that you grow your business, and why a lot of businesses are growing way too slow, if at all.
That's okay. That's great. I hadn't heard anybody say it just like that before. I mean, in the beginning, you look at your P&L and you think, okay, what's the data telling me? So I really did appreciate that point in the book. Let's talk about finger pointing for a minute, because as we grow, I've been here, right? As we grow and you haven't yet hired this one person that you need to do this job, and you have all of these capable people, it's really easy to say, well, hey, can you just go do these few things? And before you know it, it's derailed. And that person is in a role that they didn't sign up for, that isn't their passion. And then it just kind of opens up this can of worms in the organization. And files are disorganized, communication breakdown. It's what you called Frankenstein. You've created a business that is Frankenstein. I really appreciated in chapter 9, which is all about systems, you said, lack of clarity breeds inefficiencies, which turns into wasted time, inconsistencies delivered across the board, and fed up staff who gets sick of the chaos and leaves. I was there in the early years. All of these problems cost the business money. If you're currently the ringleader of a non-systematized business, it's probably costing you a bit of your sanity too. Haha. So talk a little bit about systems and automations. How does this really help? I know systems is a really big part of the book and, of what you're giving away in these systems and procedures too. So I want to dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah. I guess there's a huge tax and a huge toll to play on employees in a growth stage business, because there's often things are changing so often, and the business owner at the helm of it, the business owner at the helm of it is constantly coming up with new ideas and new initiatives to kind of get things going. A big misconception I see a lot is the business owner believing that they need to be the one that systemizes their business. And so therefore, number one, they're the worst person to systemize for two reasons. Because either A, they make it way too detailed, or B, there's not enough detail. And the reason being is because too detailed because they're a perfectionist and a control freak and want to get it right, or not detailed enough because a lot of what they're doing is unconscious competence. They've been doing it so long that it's second nature that they missteps. So the best way to systemize in actual fact is you as a business owner to create one system, which we actually give away with the book, which is a system for writing systems, which teaches you how to create a system and how to store it and how to name it and how to put it into action, automate it within a team. And then from then on out, we teach the process around how using that one system that you've created as a business owner, your team can then go and systemize in such a way that everything's consistent and congruent, but they own it. They own it. They're accountable for it from the get-go. This is how you get staff to be accountable, is having them actually create the systems that run your business, not you as a business owner.
This one hit me pretty hard. It was awesome. So how often are your people updating the SOPs? If you're constantly coming up with new ideas, it feels like no sooner do you finish it, it changes, and then it's going to be this outdated mess of documentation.
Yeah. It's like we're at the position now in our company that we hardly ever create new systems. Like we might be still creating maybe one a week, possibly, and it's very different to what it was a few years ago. But I guess two reasons. Number one is they get updated or they get revised, 6 monthly or 12 monthly, just looked over to see where they're at and what needs to change, if anything. But more importantly, they get updated when there's a problem or a challenge. And this is the beauty, is that when you have a system or a structure, it's like there's an issue that comes up. The first question, and that's we have a flow chart that we give away the book as well, which is the process for implementing a system. And it's a flow chart of how you go through it. And the first question is like, does a system exist for this thing, and does it work? If there's ever an issue, the first question that one of my managers will ask is, was the system followed? Now, if the answer is no, like we need to understand why it wasn't followed, but my team followed them. So the next question is, okay, it's followed. What happened within following that system? Like, where's the gap? And it's not a matter of like, you've done the wrong thing. It's like, cool, there's a gap in the process, fix it, doesn't happen again. If the same thing appears twice or 3 times or 4 times, then there's an issue, but we just don't experience that because the team doesn't want to have fires to put out all the time. They want their jobs to be enjoyable and they want their roles to be easy and effortless. And that's what systems do for a business.
And so you find that your team they want to update the documentation. They want to poke holes in it. You don't find anybody who just forgets or they get too busy or anything like that. And is that a part of the culture that you've created? Is there an accountability system behind that?
Yeah, 2 things. The first thing I mentioned, just to go back, is that if you haven't currently got systems in your business and you're looking at this right now, you're like, I'm going to buy a copy of the book. A couple of things I'd say. One is I'd buy a copy of the book for every single employee. Now, the reason that I say that is because often the employees see the business owner and they're like, oh, it's just another change Amber wants to make, just another one of her great ideas, that doesn't get followed through or that doesn't happen.
I imagine my team laughing right now.
But again, like reading the book, we start off with vision, mission, values, and your employees will understand why this is important. And so therefore, although you'll still get a little bit of resistance, they'll be more bought into what you want to create. And they'll be able to then hold you accountable as a business owner to implementing and getting running. And every single time we have our clients go through and do this, they say the same thing. Yes, my staff was slightly resistant, but the moment they put one system in place or 2 systems in place, it's like then the staff are then driving the results. Like I've had clients, if you're watching now, Tom recently said, like my team would circle back to him, like we need this updated, we need this changed, because they're now seeing the huge opportunity that systems provide for the business. And so I guess it's important to realize resistance in the beginning is there, but then later on your staff want to use them because they see how much easier their jobs become. how much less they have to do. And that is a cultural thing, but it starts with going through step by step: vision, mission, values, goals. And, you know, us at the Game Changers, and we suggest it and recommend it to our clients, we run very much an open book policy. Like, my team could ask me anything about anything. Several of my staff members have access to our Stripe account or to our Xero account. Like, we're completely open book, and that's just the way we've run the company, completely transparent. But the trust that builds in your team and the culture is phenomenal, rather than your employees, which a lot of employees think you're killing it. It's like, oh, Amber's killing it. And it's like, they don't know that you struggled to pay wages last week. That they just have this perception of seeing how much you charge for your job.
No kidding. Yeah.
They don't see the whole picture. And that's where education is like, but won't they leave me if they know everything? No, they won't. They'll feel like they belong. They'll feel more a part of the business if they know everything.
Yeah. I have always been an open book, and that was because before I started my company, I was working with another company and they were not. And I felt that way. And I thought, man, they're killing it. What is going on? So yes, I know that one well. We do have a question here from Patty. She asked, Barry, can you share some insights into delegating tasks? What is your process?
Yeah, amazing. We have a tool called the task order. I think we give that away in the book as well. Like, can I just say, like all honesty and legit, when I wrote the book, I was like, I don't want this just to be a book that people read and like, oh, it's great, but how do I apply it? Like, I don't want people to read the book and be missing shit, so they have to work with us. Like, we can't take on board everyone anyway. So when I wrote the book, I was like, I literally want them to have a playbook, and we systemized each chapter of how to implement it to make it as easy as possible. And one thing we included was our task audit process, which all our new clients go through this. And essentially, it's a matter of just tracking what you're doing over a period of time, tracking how long it takes you to do it, the frequency, and whether or not you should use a protocol called docs. So D is, do I delegate this? Meaning that, is this something I can give to someone who exists in my team, whether it's now or in the future? It doesn't mean that you can do it necessarily straight away, but this particular thing I'm doing, I should be doing. Do I outsource it? Meaning, do I hire someone outside of me, a marketing agency, a sales agency, or do I hire someone overseas to fill this role? Maybe now or in the future. Do I continue doing it, C, because it's something that I have to do or I should be doing as a visionary, as the entrepreneur? Or S, should I stop doing it because it's just not moving me closer towards my sunset? Once you determine it's a D thing, it's like, the question is, do I have someone in my team that fits this right now, or do I need to hire someone for the role? One thing that we did a lot in the beginning is we'd have our team go through the task audit as well, and we'd start to look through what they were doing, and we would help them and coach them around, should they delegate it to someone else in the team, outsource it, continue doing it, or stop?
I love that.
So this is how, like, in the beginning, you had staff that were wearing 10 hats, but as the business kept growing, their roles kept on kind of, merging and evolving to where we had people that were in their lane that could stay in their lane and were phenomenal at doing what they're doing. And then it was a matter of essentially the delegating aspect is like, cool, like, I want you to do this thing. Let's sit down. I'm going to train you on it. We're going to record the training, and then you're going to go and create the system for it after the training. So they get the knowledge, they get the input, then they have to go and replicate it for themselves and for future people to come.
I appreciate you so much. I really do. I appreciate you and what you're doing to help people. Patty, that was an excellent question. Anybody else that's watching, definitely put your questions below. I do see a couple of more in here. In the book, one of my favorite lines is you said, hire the best people and get the F out of the way. And so that leads me to Isaac asked a question. If you're looking at moving from operator to owner, what do you look for in hiring potential team members?
So good. And actually, funny enough, we include our hiring process in the book as well, and the script.
Yes, it's so good. It's very detailed and long, and I loved it.
And we use that hiring process to attract my integrator. So there's a couple of things. Great question, Isaac. First and foremost, like in any hire, it's a cultural and values fit. And like any hire before skill sets for me, they've got to be a values fit. I can train people on skill set. I can't train people to act and be a certain way. Right. So the values fit has to be there 100%. Secondly, with that particular general manager or CIO integrator role, they're a very intimate relationship. So they've got to be able to get you. They've got to be able to take your big picture ideas and distill it in such a way that they can create a plan and lead a team. So they are quite a unique individual and a little bit harder to find than a typical hire, because they've got to be able to see big picture. They've got to be able to distill that into tangible steps and actions and plans. They've got to have buy-in from your team, but they've also got to be able to tell you no. And that's really important, because as visionaries, and especially as we start to get free from the business, the ideas start flowing in even more than we're in the business. And if they're not able to say no, and they're running like this behavioral pattern of like wanting to please you or do the right thing, you're going to burn them out. You've got to have someone that could say, hey, cool idea, Barry, but not for now. Or, hey, shitty idea, let's just throw that one away. What else you got? Like I had me and my GM had a session with a coach the other day, and they went through our Myers-Briggs. And, you know, where I was more intuitive, she was more thought-provoking, which was fantastic, this interplay in the dynamics. Yet we're both feeling-based people as well. So, you know, we speak a bit in the book that the visionary's role is more of an intuitive role and making decisions a bit more based on intuition and emotion, whereas that the COO, the integrator's role, is a bit more based on logic, because they have to be able to distill it down to lead your team. I knew I had the right hire, where 3 months after I hired Heather, I said to the team, I'm stepping back, and they said, see ya, like, see you later. Because before I hired her, they're like, oh no, like, you need to be here, like, you're the culture and you bring the flair. And it's like, I'm stepping back. They're like, see ya. And I was like, huh. And it's just like, who am I now? Like, who am I in the business?
Wow, that's amazing. And in your book, you say that hiring is only half of the equation. Quote, culture is the beating heart that drives your systematized business. What are some keys to success when it comes to team in general? I know you spoke about Tony Robbins and 6 core values. I mean, there are lots of ways that we could take this question, but speak to me a little bit about culture.
Honestly, the biggest lesson I've learned in 18 years of business is vulnerability. Like it seems so esoteric, but it's like vulnerability, being able to show up like as all of you and own it as yourself. Because if you can do that, your team, you give permission to your team, both consciously and unconsciously, to do the same. They talk about in the 5 dysfunctions of the team, dysfunction number 1 is trust. And trust is not like, oh, I can tell Amber a secret about my love life and she won't share it through the office. No, like, trust is that everyone is bought in enough around the vision. They give a shit enough that they can have a conflicting conversation. There can be conflict that comes up in the organization, and you both know, and the team knows, that the conflict is healthy, right? Not from a place of martyrism or complaining, but it's like, I actually give a shit enough about the vision of the game changers. I'm going to share what I'm feeling in this. And we'll often have meetings, and Michael, if you're watching, one of our team members, it rubbed me a lot in the beginning, because he would be like, no, this is not okay by me. And I'd be like, oh, like, how do I handle this? And I noticed that was an edge for me, that was me, like, not wanting to own all aspects of myself and of the team. So I think vulnerability is such a huge point. And promoting, and this was particularly difficult with our VA staff, because the Filipinos culture is very different to the Western society. So the moment any conflict came up, you watch them all like shrink and like want to like distance themselves from it. And it's taken us like months, if not even years, for them to now be sometimes the instigators of that conflict. Like, I got called out like 2 meetings ago. My team called me out because I hadn't recorded a video for them, and they publicly called me out. And I sat there and smiled and laughed about it. Like, not laughed as in like, oh, like whatever, like laughed as in like, shit, you guys got me. Like, you're totally, I own that. I'll get it straight done after the meeting. Like, that to me is culture and is trust, but it takes time. Like, you need to be cultivating. It's like a relationship. You can't just go in and get a ring on the finger and be like, yeah, it's done. Like, no, like, every day you got to show up, cultivating that culture.
How long does this take? I imagine there are people watching and they're thinking, wow, I have a lot to do. And now I'm overwhelmed, and I was already overwhelmed. And, you know, like, everything that you say makes sense. And I actually have confidence that I can do it. But I imagine some people are a little overwhelmed right now. How long does this take? If I get your book, I buy the book for all of my team. We have discussions. We're all on the same page. We're implementing what you say together. What am I really looking at here? Like 5 years, 10 years?
Well, the question I ask Amber is, how long have you been doing things the way you've been doing, and is it working for you? Because I meet many business owners that have been in business for a long time, and they're still hitting their head against the same brick wall. And so the reality is that you can implement this as fast as you're willing to. You know, I've met clients that have had a lot of resistance to doing things their way, and it takes a lot longer. I've also had clients, like, there's a number of clients that are watching this right now, that within 3 months, in 6 months, like, we had a client that grew over 700% in 6 months. and they went from working 100 hours a week back to 30 hours a week, right? But they just took it and ran and let go of all the shit that they came to the table with, took on a new approach and decided, well, hey, this actually works better. And what I'd say too, like, it's not a book. I wouldn't recommend like getting it and just reading it cover to cover. Like, my recommendation is like, read, although you want to, we've had some clients read it and say, I haven't been able to put it down, but like, read one chapter, take the SOP, implement that, get a cadence around it, read the next chapter and do that. And like 3 to 6 months, you won't know yourself and in a way that you'll start to see significant changes that will compound over time.
Awesome. Well, I know that when I was reading it, first of all, I marked it up like crazy. And then what I did is I had my whiteboard, I had my, the paper, and I was marking it up. And then I would pause and I would go and I would email my team and I'd say, okay, this is the way that we're doing. And then I would put other things in motion. I'd come back and I'd be ready for more, work to do. And as I progressed through the book, I actually didn't feel overwhelmed. I felt empowered. I felt strong. I felt like, thank you. Somebody finally explains it in a way I can understand. Like, it was just, so I'm not trying to puff you up, but like, I think this is really important. And I'm really proud of you for taking the space to put these words out. And I'm sure it's only the first of many books to come, if I have anything to say about it.
Thank you. Just one thing quickly on that. Sorry. A big reason behind that though is because there's a lot of like psychological or mindset shifts throughout. Like, it's not just a business book of where like, oh, like, I've got to go and implement a vision. I've got to go and implement values. And here's how I set goals. It's like, most people have read that shit before. It's around the psychological shifts that we need to make as a business owner, because as we spoke about in the very beginning, it's like, your business will never outgrow you. Your business is an expression of who you are. And so it's important that as you go through and read the chapters, there's just small little nuances there that actually cause and create you to think differently, which is why you can walk through it. And we pre-released it to 8 clients just to have them read it, get some reviews. And they all said the same thing. They're like, it's so simple. And there's this aspect of me going, oh, like, is it too simple? And they're like, no, like it is super powerful. You've just written in such a way that anybody gets it.
Yep. And what I found, for those of you watching, if you have a 7-figure or more business, this is for you too, because I went back and I thought, oh yeah, or, oh, it was explained in a different way. And now I'm maybe more mature in the business to where I'm understanding it in a different way. But I can also imagine somebody who's less than 250,000 a year, they're going to think, I mean, gosh, good for them, because now they're going to learn it the right way. They could bypass years of pain and frustration if you're just mentally open to it. And I think that's one of the takeaways. We are winding down on our last few minutes here. I have one question left. Anybody watching, if you want to put questions in the comments below, and if you're watching the replay, you can still put questions in the comments below. My team and I, Barry and his team, will continue to come back to this thread because we really are here for you. This isn't about us. Like, we're here for you. Okay, let's end with this. You said, every level you hit in business requires you to evolve into a person that can solve a different set of problems. The mindset of a $10,000 a month person cannot handle what it takes to earn a $100,000 a month. It's a whole new level of challenge and risk. The business cannot outgrow you. The belief system you currently have is what's giving you your results. To get different results, things have to change. And then you go on and you're talking about entrepreneurship and mindset. But I want to leave this pretty open-ended. When I say that back to you, you probably remember sitting in your room and typing that, even, and the feeling of writing that. What last bits of wisdom do you want to share about how to be on this path to freedom?
Yeah. I share a little story. Like, we started an outsourcing company up last year just to help our clients to basically hire phenomenal VAs. We had a very proven process for it. We could see the impact we're making through offering Filipinos work. Several of my staff have bought houses through working with me for the first time ever. And these were staff that grew up on nothing but rice and salt, which is just amazing. And they're so dear to my heart. But we started an outsourcing company, and in January, it's like, wow, there's a much bigger call for this than what we've been doing. And I was ready to jump in and build this thing because I just exited the Game Changers. And I was like, I don't have the appetite or desire to go and start a startup. because it needs to be done. And this is the difference, is that years ago, I would have just jumped in and done it. Whereas now I'm like, I don't have to be the one that does it. How can I build and grow this thing without being involved? I'm clear of what I want it to look like. I'm clear of the problems I want to solve. I'm clear of like the vision, but how can I start this thing up without being involved? And through asking myself a different question, I got a different response. And so I think that's the point here, is that just realize that the questions you're asking yourself and the stories you're telling yourself right now is creating your reality. So if you're saying like, oh, why can't I do this? Or I'm not good enough, or, you know, coronavirus has destroyed my business. How do I survive this? It's a very different question than like, how do I thrive through this? You know, how do I grow as a result of coronavirus? You know, like coronavirus hit and I was like, you know what? I got no idea what this looks like, but I'm going to come out the other side of this fitter, healthier, financially better off, spiritually more connected, more inspired, and more like, I made a decision. I didn't know how. I had no idea what was in front of me, but I made a decision. And I look back now and I absolutely have in every area. I still don't kind of know how it happened, but it started with asking the right questions. And so I think just be aware of what the narrative is inside of your mind, and start to notice how that narrative is creating your environment right now. And if you're not happy with the results you're getting, like, start to ask different questions. And that's where it starts. Ask different questions like, how do I grow without sacrificing time with my kids and my family?
And if I am a business owner that doesn't know the answers, like I don't know the right questions to ask, I'm just in it. I know that your company does coaching. Can you speak just a bit about that? How can I get a strategy session? How do I start the process?
Absolutely. Easiest way, like, my team's amazing and we get so much feedback. Even clients that we don't take on board, people we speak to, we always try to provide value and give them at least the next step. So the easiest way is to visit thegamechangers.com.au, book in for a game plan session. You'll speak to one of the team there, and we can very quickly help you to, you know, using the tools that we have and we're trained very well on, identify what the biggest challenge is, what the bottleneck is. And most of the time, it's not what you think. Most of the time, the problems that business owners have are actually symptoms of a deeper problem, and we help you to kind of uncover that. And once you're clear what that problem is, you can get the fix and start moving forward. So thegamechangers.com.au. Equally to hit me up on social. My team manage most of my accounts. Be sure to kind of help you out and point in the right direction.
I would love to know what people thought of this interview. Do me a favor in the comments below. What's an aha? What was a special moment for you? What's something that is going to change the game for you, you know, and get you on that path to freedom? You know, the teams were working hard, putting links to the pre-order page. Go sign up, you know, get a copy of the book, get a bunch of bonuses. And I'm going to do it one more time, right? Just to finish it with a bang. If you start a watch party, there's so much stuff, I hardly remember it all. Okay, so there's winning the week training. Everybody gets that. Audiobook of Path to Freedom. Everybody gets that. Everybody's also going to get a copy of my 40-minute video training on how to attract qualified buyers and grow your following online. Then 3 people in the next couple of days are going to get drawn, right? And they're going to get a $50 Amazon gift card. Maybe you do something nice for your team. I don't know. I'm just coming up with ideas. 3 people are going to get Barry's 50 SOPs, and 3 people are going to get a free 30-minute marketing strategy session with me. And we're going to pick all of those people, but you have to start a watch party, and in the comments below say, I started a watch party. Otherwise, we won't know. So you've got to let us know, and we will give those gifts to you. Barry, it was truly a really big honor that you invited me to come in and do this interview with you and celebrate your 100th episode and the release of your pre-order. Like, I'll never forget that for life. Working with you has been such a gift. So thanks, Mike Mccalla, for writing Fix This Next so that I could meet Barry. Any last words that you want to say before we end?
I just want to say thank you. I've really enjoyed hanging out. I'm really excited to get my book out there because, like, I just so deeply feel in my heart that business owners need more advice, and I've done things the hard way, you know, and I guess this is 18 years of doing many things the hard way and the wrong way. And, you know, we have something now that works. And I just feel so deeply that I'm here to help more business owners to find that, because that changes so many lives, their families' lives, their employees' lives. And I think now more than ever, business owners need that extra support. And if I can be just a small little piece on your journey that provides that, like, oh my God, finished. So thank you so much for all you've done. I really appreciate all the support around the book launch and this fantastic interview.
Awesome. And with that, we are complete.
Thank you, everyone.
So thank you, everyone, for coming.